Hey everybody. Hi, this is Matt from the Media Boat Podcast. We're going to try something new today. I'm doing a video just for you, the website. Hopefully I can get this under 30 minutes. If not, it will be on YouTube. Today we're going to do some ranking. I've noticed this is like a popular subculture on YouTube, and it's really fun watching people's tier lists, so I decided to make my own. And I'm going to be a little topical with the topic today. I mean, that's what topics are. They're very topical. That's why they're called that. Anyway, Xbox is all over the news. We've talked about it on the show. This week is kind of the will they or won't they about Xbox making their first-party games multi-platform or not. And it got me thinking about the legacy of Xbox Game Studios, formerly known as Microsoft Studios, formerly known as Microsoft Game Studios, etc., 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 and all the wonderful franchises and games that they've published over the years. And this goes back all the way to the beginning of the Xbox, even before the Xbox, with games like Flight Simulator for Windows. They've been publishing games for a very long time now, about 30 years. So, which ones are good? Which ones are bad? Which ones should be ported to every platform under the sun? And which should be, let's say, locked away in the digital locker to age poorly? Today we're going to find out by ranking them. So as you see, I've made a tier list here that goes from good at the top, like the best of the best at the top, all the way to the bottom. I've named these creative names. The top, of course, pure gamer hours. These are the classics. These are the legends that Microsoft has brought us. There's no debate that these are classics, and these should absolutely be on every platform. Like, bring them over to PlayStation. Bring them to Switch. Below that, an alright time. Like, you ever play a game and you're just like, yeah, it's a good game. I don't know if it's like an all-timer. Well, surely Microsoft has published a lot of those too. Then we have right in the middle, maybe, which is, yeah, right in the middle. You kind of know, your gut tells you whether something is like worthy of praise or worthy of trashing, or if it just sits somewhere in the middle. This might be a popular category today because there's probably a lot of these I have not played. And that means that they'll likely end up right in the middle, just the no judgment zone. The maybe this is okay. Maybe I should try this out. I don't know. You tell me. Below that is yeesh. These are games that have not aged super well that we probably don't want to see. Maybe there's some redeeming factors about them, but in general, maybe time forgot them on purpose, maybe for a reason. But then the very, very bottom, the garbage tier, bottom of an Avatar shoe. You ever want to know what the bottom of an Avatar shoes looks like? Bam, it's these games. Again, you'll know them when you see them. So for the games that I put down here, you can kind of see a little preview of most of them on the screen right now. Let me put my cursor over here. But yeah, I've kind of didn't really use a science to determine which games I'm including here. Basically, my only rules were they had to be on an Xbox console. I'm focusing on console games pretty much here, so you won't see Age of Empires, for example. And I'm also, basically, if they were on an Xbox console at some point, preferably a franchise, but there are some one-offs here if I thought they were notable. If there's games that I'm missing here, chances are I just didn't think that they were important enough to talk about or discuss today. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you if I offended anybody by my exclusions or my inclusions. Well, find another video to watch. It's fine. Go argue online about whether the yellow paint should be in video games or not. Whew, the discourse. Anyway, so, oh yeah, and they kind of shuffled them. There's not in any particular order. So we're going to hop around eras here. So these could be original Xbox games, 360 games, Xbox One, and current day Xbox Series X games. Oh yeah, and one note. Kinect. So I did not really want to include every single Kinect etc. game released in that era of the Xbox 360 to early Xbox One. So Connectables, Connect Sports, Connect Fitness, all those games I've just kind of lumped into the Connect category, which is represented by Connectables somewhere in this jumble. So we'll get there when we get there, but trust me, all the Connect games deserve the same fate. All right, without further ado, let's start with our first game, which is Amped. So this is a franchise. Amped had 3 installments, starting with the Xbox. It's a snowboarding game. This was kind of Microsoft's in-house answer to SSX. Of course, SSX would go multi-platform with the second game, Tricky, but they needed their own answer. But from what I understand is they started out as a pretty decent snowboarding sim, and then got weird with Amped 3. Amped 3 is this like cult classic in the Xbox community. Everybody loves how weird it got, and like it played around with FMV and like weird ass cutscenes. Like it seems like a good time. I've never played the Amped games. I'm gonna put this in an alright time. They should bring back Amped. Let's put Amped on PlayStation 5. That would be weird. Why not? Also, I should mention this. I am not actually taking seriously whether it's possible for some of these games to come out on PlayStation. Obviously, you know, Microsoft's hands are tied if a developer doesn't exist anymore. If a team can't, obviously that complicates things when making a relaunch or a re-release of stuff. Rights issues are always a thing. I don't actually think the Amped trilogy can come out on platforms these days, but man, it would be nice to see a new, redone version of Amped 3, because I just want to see what that thing is. So yeah, an alright time. I think that's pretty safe. Next up, we have a recent entry here, As Dusk Falls. I believe Mike played this. Talked about this briefly on the podcast. This is an Xbox Series exclusive that was a narrative adventure game that had a unique art style, which was kind of like a motion comic, but did not get the best reaction when it was released. It seemed like it was kind of middling in a lot of aspects. Not a lot of people seemed to like it. It seemed kind of meh. I say As Dusk Falls, we probably don't need to see it, although it's recent enough that it may get multi-platform release if this does end up being the course that Microsoft takes. I'm going to put it in yeesh. I don't think it's bad enough to be bottom of an Avatar shoe. I think that it is just not well liked, and it doesn't need to be revitalized. It probably won't get a sequel either. So let's move on. Stop talking about As Dusk Falls and start talking about Blue Dragon. So there was a period, if you're not familiar, in the Xbox 360 era where they were making a lot of deals with Japanese studios. And one of the results of that is Blue Dragon, an RPG from that era. Cel-shaded art by Akira Toriyama, of Dragon Ball fame. Definitely a looker. I remember a lot of people being impressed by this game's aesthetics. Seemed like an okay RPG. Seemed like, at the end of the day, it wasn't the best RPG in the world. It was no Final Fantasy. Speaking of Final Fantasy things, we'll get to another one with a similar situation a little later. But Blue Dragon just seems like it existed. It's important to note that it also got a DS, either port or sequel of some sort, or prequel. Some sort of DS Blue Dragon was released. So this technically already was a multi-platform game, but not in the same way we're talking about with this news. So I'm going to say Blue Dragon probably just goes in the maybe pile. I think it's middling. I don't know if it needs to be revitalized. If it's on the bubble, it could be. But hey, we'll just leave it there for now. I think that's a safe place for it. Next we have a fan favorite amongst the Xbox faithful. None other than mascot platformer Blinx the Time Sweeper. Oh, Blinx. Back when mascots were still in the conversation, well, barely. I feel like Blinx exists on the cutoff of when we finally stopped talking about mascot games being important video game releases. It was the last of its kind. Blinx was the last of his kind. I hear these games are not very good. There's 2 of them. There's Blinx and Blinx 2. But I don't know if they're going to make another one of these guys. I think they're done. I think Blinx was a brief experiment. Nor do I think it should come back. I don't know. I'm sure Platformer heads, call me out if Blinks is any good or not. You can be the judge of that. Let me know if that's the case. I always had it in my head as kind of just there and okay. So I think it's going to go in the maybe pile. I think it's possible that you could have a remake. I mean, didn't they remake Voodoo Vince like last year? Which is also on this list, oddly enough. Which maybe now that I think about it, did that remake come out multi-platform? Maybe it shouldn't be on this list. Whatever, too late. I committed. No, Blinks goes in the maybe pile for sure. Next up, Crimson Skies. So this is technically originally a Windows franchise. Its sequel was on the 360. But man, do I hear so many people calling out for this to get a re-release or a remake or something. Seems like people really like Crimson Skies as a franchise. Honestly, combat flight sims or flight combat games, I guess, are rare. It's not a genre that gets a lot of play. You get basically Star Wars games, and that's pretty much it. And that's even kind of a different thing. Space combat compared to like World War I, II combat, different animal. I think it's time. I think it's time for Crimson Skies. I think it's time. I'm gonna put this in an all right time. I haven't played it certainly, but I think it's time. Why not? Let's get some fighting in the skies back. Ooh, on a similar level. The Xbox original Blood Wake. This is a car combat game if the cars were actually jet skis or boats, I guess they're boats. Imagine, I've had it explained to me as like Hydro Thunder if Hydro Thunder was Twisted Metal. And honestly, sold. Also, the name, Blood Wake, is just, that's rad. I'm sorry. I have not played Blood Wake, but it just sounds amazing. I'm going to put this in Pure Gamer Hours. Let's bring back Blood Wake. Let's do it. It's time. The people are demanding Blood Wake. Oh, this is a tough one. Okay, folks, let's talk about Crackdown. The first Crackdown is an excellent video game. I've had so much fun with it. Getting those agility orbs, just spending hours and hours after school every day. I was in high school when it came out, and it was the perfect time for it. I was addicted to the fact that to the point where my dad was making fun of the name and being like, wow, they must have crack in that game. You play it so much. Funny. But after that, though, Crackdown 2 and Crackdown 3 are both pretty universally games that are pretty universally sorry, I accidentally muted myself there. Are pretty universally determined as very mid, as the kids would say. Very lackluster, disappointing in comparison to that original. So I have to ask the tough question, which was, is Crackdown a time and place thing? Can you recapture that magic, that lightning in a bottle? Or is Crackdown an open world game that has been now done, that's now been bested so many times you can't make it anymore? And yeah, I think that's probably true. I still think it's an alright time, though. If you go back to the original game today, it still holds up. I even think there's things that are like about Crackdown 3. But honestly, I don't see it as having much of a future, and especially not really seeing it coming out for other platforms. I mean, maybe a port of Crackdown 3 comes to PS5 at some point, but like a budget version, maybe? I don't know. I don't even know if Microsoft or Xbox even cares about the Crackdown franchise anymore after that debacle. So, the more I talk about it, sorry, Crackdown, you're going in maybe. Maybe. I even said the word maybe. That's how you know it's a maybe. All right. Oh, boy. All right. Well, if you weren't reading video game coverage in the Xbox original era, you might not know what's the deal with brute force. So there was an era after the release of Halo where every other studio was trying to make a Halo killer, as they called it. Basically, the next shooter that was going to reestablish what it meant to be a video game shooter, like an excellent shooter. Even Microsoft Studios themselves had one, and it was called Brute Force. Except it was so bad, apparently, upon release, that it kind of gained a reputation as being just a terrible, hilarious game. It has a guy who is a lizard. Those are the two things I know about Brute Force, honestly. But I think that is enough for me to have our inaugural game in the bottom of Avatar Shoe. I'm sorry. As funny as it would be for Brute Force to come back, there is no reason for Brute Force to come back when they could put their, time and efforts into something that's actually good. I'm sorry, Brute Force fans. I'm sure you're out there, but this ain't it. Next up, we have an Xbox 360 Connect, early Xbox One? I forget when this came out. Era, another one of those deals made with a Japanese team to bring over talent from over there. D4, or Dead Dreams Don't Die, I believe is what that stands for. It had Kinect integration for, voice command stuff, I think. It seemed like a real weird game. And as with some of the other Kinect stuff we'll talk about later, I do not know if you can replicate this game anymore. I do think there was a Windows port of this, but I don't know how it worked. I honestly don't even know what you do in this game or what it's really about. But just the fact that it's a Kinect game and it was so integral to the 360 version or the Xbox One version, I'm going to say this is probably a yeesh. I don't know. Maybe this game has its fans. By the way, I'm not trying to make this symmetrical or designed well. Just it's sort of happening that way. I'm not I'm not trying to balance these categories. It's just this is what's coming off the dome, folks. I don't know. But it's fine, because next we have a franchise that's pretty universally loved, Fable. Well, I say that and then I hesitate, because it was another one of those Crackdown-esque situations of diminishing returns. People really liked Fable 1, people really liked Fable 2 on 360. It was huge when it came out. I remember everybody just lauding that thing. And it may be the best of the Peter Molyneux franchises. I mean, come at me if you disagree, if you're like a Black and White head or a what's the Civilization-esque thing he did, whatever, PC, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that if there's one, it's Fable, and the fact that they're reviving this franchise and it's going to continue very soon is exciting. I mean, there were some low points. Fable 3 seemed like it was a disappointing game overall. Then that game that came out for Kinect that was not on rails comes to mind as something people kind of trashed. Let's put it in an all right time. Again, not trying to balance these out in any capacity, but it's just funny. I don't know if it's pure gamer hours. I don't know anybody's out here being like, hell yeah, Fable, and really excited. I think people are excited for that new one. However, I could easily see this as a candidate for something that they just port over a Fable collection to PlayStation or Switch. Easy. This is a slam dunk. Get people excited about Fable. I think that's the move. Ooh, here's a weird one. So, back in 2002, I want to say, the big news story du jour of that time was Microsoft buying Rare, who up to that point had been a Nintendo kind of second-party, close relationship kind of studio. And Rare's first game for the Xbox was not something that anybody really, I don't think, has nostalgia for. A game called Grabbed by the Ghoulies. It's like a light horror, but like comedy horror platformer-esque action game, from what I can tell. Again, it's a Rare game, so it probably has some people who would defend it, but overall, I remember at the time, middling reviews, and I think people were a little confused that Rare was trying something this different for their first game outside the Nintendo ecosystem. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems, I don't know if we need Grabbed by the Ghoulies. I think Rare has moved on. This is a yeesh. This is a solid yeesh, I think. Ooh. If you played the 360 around the 360 launch, you will remember Hexic HD. What a puzzle game, folks. It was a unique puzzle game at the time, Hexic. It's not really a match 3. It's not really like a shifting thing. It's kind of like they did a Bejeweled twist, which involved twisting 3 jewels instead of matching 3 vertically or horizontally. And Hexic kind of did that first. And I remember really enjoying Hexic. I played hours of Hexic on the 360. Let's bring Hexic back. Pure Gamer Hours. Come on. Where's the Hexic Hive? I mean, literally, look kind of like a beehive. So there's probably a Hexic Hive somewhere. I'll call club leader positions for the Hexic Hive. That's me. I'm on it. Yes, bring back Hexic. Why not? Port it to everything. That would be a good mobile game. I'm shocked that they haven't done that. Do it, Max. Do it, Phil. Do it, Phil. I know you want to. All right, let's move on. Another currently relevant franchise that I absolutely guarantee will come everywhere. Flight Simulator. It's also the oldest one on this tier list, dating back to, like I said, 30 years ago. They're putting out a anniversary. 40? Is it 40? Oh, I don't know. I should look that up. Regardless, maybe it's just 30. I don't know. They are putting out a new one of these this year, 2024. 2020 was a big surprise hit. It hit perfectly during the pandemic. Everybody was looking for a big, fancy show-off game, and that was it. I think it's a franchise that just delivers, and it's for everybody. And yes, you need a super powerful rig to play it. But if Sony's really doing a PlayStation 5 Pro sometime either this year or next, what a perfect showcase for Microsoft to be like, hey, you can play this thing on the Pro or Xbox. I keep saying Microsoft. I'm so old. Xbox to just say, hey, you don't need a top-of-the-line PC. Get this for your PS5 Pro. It's fine. We don't mind. We'll just take your $70. I think it could happen. Pure Gamer Hours. Who doesn't like a game that just shows off your rig? Flight Simulator. Oh, and also, it's fun. And I know people who are very invested in flight simulators. Sure, it's not the most realistic one, but it's also accessible, which I think a lot of people love it for. It's not something that you have to know every single switch on an actual real plane in order to play. Even though it gets close to that, it like snuggles up against that limit, but also has a lot of settings to make it easier to control. So, Flight Simulator, how can it not be up there? Next up, remember when I was talking about Blue Dragon, that era of the 360 where they were making RPG deals? Well, none was more RPG dealy than Lost Odyssey. This was the one that they actually got the Final Fantasy guy, and before you say Tetsuya Nomura, no, I'm old, so I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the original Final Fantasy guy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. They got Sakaguchi to create Lost Odyssey, and Microsoft published it not only here, but also in Japan as a 360 exclusive. I think that this game actually had a better reception than Blue Dragon. I remember people talking about it pretty positively, but overall being disappointed that it was locked to Xbox 360 and didn't have the accessibility, like wasn't accessible to people outside of that ecosystem. So, let's bring Lost Odyssey back. I think it's an alright time. I think it's time. We have never been in more of an RPG friendly landscape right now. By the way, I played like an hour and a half of Persona 3 Reload. I'll talk about it on the podcast a little bit on Tuesday. I don't know if that game's for me, but man, there's something to the Persona games. I get it now. I understand why people are so obsessed. So yeah, while the RPG iron is hot, put out a remake of Lost Odyssey and put it out on everything. Again, assuming that they can. Alright, here we get into some of the obvious ones. Yes, Halo is on here. We'll get there. But before Halo, we have Gears of War, of course. This is... The Xbox brand is almost built, at least since the 360 is built on the reputation of Gears of War. It's huge. It's still huge. Every time one of these comes out, it is still an event. It's one of those few event franchises we have left, honestly, and especially Xbox has left. This is a no-brainer. This goes in Pure Gamer Hours. It's associated with the brand. Those first 3 games are great. The latter 2 games, from what I understand, have their people, have their fans. They're okay. They're pretty solid third-person shooters, but ultimately, Gears of War 1 took the ball from Resident Evil 4 and ran with it and refined that third-person shooting even further and created that stop-and-pop gameplay that kind of defined a generation of shooters. I don't know if it works as well today. I think it's a series that would benefit from a complete rethink and a reboot proper. I don't know if that's what they're going to do with it, with this upcoming release. Probably 6, probably not, because it has to finish the story from 4 and 5. But I think it's a series that's due for reappraisal, due for a reboot like that. And yeah, obviously, Pure Gamer Hours. Let's bring it to everything. Put out that collection out on PS5. Why not? Switch. Put it on Switch. I would love to play Gears of War on Switch. That'd be great. Okay. Not so great is going back to the original Xbox in a different period of time for video game development. This is a game called Kung Fu Chaos. I am not going to look this up. I am not going to look up screenshots of this because the very name of this game implies that it could be problematic in the year of our Lord 2024. Sorry, Kung Fu Chaos. You might have been fun at the time, but I don't think we need you anymore. You're going into bottom of Avatar shoe. Speaking of Rare, as we were just a moment ago with Grab the Ghoulies, a game with a way better reception, Cameo Elements of Power. This was their 360 launch game that they put out, and it has a pretty distinct fan base. I didn't play it myself, but it seems really popular with the Xbox community. People love this thing. I think if Rare did a reboot of this, Rare, a company that hasn't done a whole lot of reboots on their games, I mean, they've been pretty focused on Sea of Thieves, a game we'll get to later. But this would be such an easy thing for them to do. Like, the more I think about it. Why not? Or, if Rare's busy, put a different studio on it. Do a full remaster of Cameo. I say this is an alright time. I think that it's time to do it. Next up, another more recent game, Obsidian's Grounded. So this is a unique case because Obsidian was a studio that used to be a third party, bought by Microsoft, released Grounded as their first, I believe, to date, only, I think, Xbox only release. It was in early access for a while on Game Pass, and now I think it's had its 1.0 release. It's a survival game, but a survival game that's family friendly, which I think is a really good move, and it seems to be really well liked. I haven't played it. I'm not a survival game person. This is a no-brainer. This is absolutely going to be released on other platforms if Xbox follows through with that policy. So yeah, all right time. I'm sure it's good. All right, Ninja Blade. 360 era action platformer. I remember people liking this. Again, I have not played it, so I can't really say much about it. So this is probably a firm maybe. Yeah, I don't have to spend a whole lot of time on every single one of these. If I don't have anything to say, I'm just gonna place it and move on, like I just did. Okay, but it's time to talk about Kinect games. Boy. I still to this day think that the Kinect was legitimately exciting. I remember when they first showed it off as Project Natal. I remember very distinctly. I was with my parents, and or maybe just my dad. I forget. At a shopping mall, and I remember being so excited after just have watched the press conference that morning, and I was just effusing to them about how excited I was. I was like, "You don't need a controller. It can sense your movements and it can scan objects with the camera." I was fully on board. I was like, this is the future of video gaming. This is the wildest shit. Blew my mind. Then, it actually comes out, and it's kind of a hassle to use. We got one. We, of course, got one. We played it a little bit, but honestly did not play it nearly enough to justify the price tag of that thing. And yeah, I think that was a lot of people's experience. I think the Wii was influential in a lot of good ways, but in a lot of bad ways too. And Kinect ended up being something that kind of Microsoft put all of their eggs in the basket for and then had to roughly abandon after the Xbox One kind of launched with it and then needed to get price cut. And they took the thing out of the box by default, and it was kind of dead after that. All the games are bad. Let's be real. The reason why I named that tier at the bottom of Avatar's shoe is because everything associated with it, they're not good games. I'm sorry. Dance Central, which I almost considered including here until I realized it was an MTV Studios published joint, the original, is the only redeeming thing on this list of those original games. So no, I think all of Kinectimals, Kinect Sports, all those games, Kinect Adventures, throw them in the trash. They get to be in the bottom of the Avatar shoe. The next one I don't need to even talk about. It's Halo. Of course they're going to put Halo on everything. Halo is classic. Pure Gamer Hours. even Infinite, which has become sort of a weird game and kind of dropped off support-wise, and people aren't really sure how they feel about it these days. When it launched, it was like, Halo is back, baby! People are excited. Halo is a platform, still a franchise with a lot of promise. It's something that you could easily see making a big comeback and making a big splash again. And what better way than to make it a splash for everybody? Just let everybody play it. So yeah, of course it goes into the top. The purest of gamer hours for our Master Chief. He's already in Fortnite. You can already see him on a PlayStation 5. Why not embrace this? Next up, a favorite of mine. The karaoke game Lips. So Lips was a karaoke game for the 360 that was made by the Karaoke Revolution people. That was a franchise for the PS2 that was published by Konami at the time. There was only one Lips, and I think like a couple of expansion song packs for Lips. I just love the name Lips. Let's just talk about Lips for a little bit. Lips. I understand that there's like that modern karaoke game. I forget what it is. Song. I forget what it's called. I think it's a Ubisoft joint. And I guess that's like an okay experience, and you can like sing into your phone and it picks it up. But bring back karaoke games. The one thing we're going to lose with this transition that Harmonix right now is making from, dropping DLC support from Rock Band 4 and putting full support into the Fortnite festival stuff on Fortnite, is we're losing the karaoke part. It doesn't support vocals, at least now and possibly in the future. So we're missing out on a huge quadrant of karaoke gameplay. So let's bring back Lips. What better time? What better time to bring back Lips? I'm gonna put this in all right time. How hard would it be? Or I guess, how hard would it be to mess up a karaoke game? I mean, if it was impossible to recognize speech, we're better at recognizing speech than ever. Do it. Let's do it. Next up, you can't read the title, but this is Recore, which was an Xbox One game by X Retro Studios folks. And it seemed like it was just an okay kind of game. I remember when it came out, people were complaining that it felt incomplete, that it was a game largely without an ending, but with a promising mechanic. That seemed like it had some fun gameplay stuff, but ultimately just didn't feel like a complete product. So it's a firm maybe. Ooh, next one. So Remedy, of course, hot studio right now. Alan Wake 2, countless Game of the Year awards last year. For a brief time, they had a publishing agreement with Microsoft. The original Alan Wake was a Microsoft joint. And then Quantum Break was their Xbox One game. Now, unfortunately, it's saddled with being associated with the early Xbox One multimedia approach. It was a game, but it was also kind of a television show that was produced at the time by Microsoft because they had, fancied themselves at the time as a TV studio where they're going to make original TV shows for Xbox One. Never happened, but Quantum Break did happen. From what I understand, though, people who have played Alan Wake 2, there's some Quantum Break references in that game. So yeah, I think it could be time for Quantum Break to get re-released in some capacity in partnership with Remedy. Sure, why not? Give it back to them, or just give the IP back to them. Why not? Sell it to them. But as the game itself seemed that wasn't too great, I think it's another maybe. Okay, Fusion Frenzy. Oh boy. If you are not familiar, I recognize looking up the Fusion Frenzy when Giant Bomb, specifically the East Coast crew in like that era, so like 2016, 2015, 2016. Look up the Giant Bomb, the Giant Beast playthrough of Fusion Frenzy. Just they play some of it together, and it's just shows you how awful of a game the original Fusion Frenzy was. Look that up and just tell me whether you think Fusion Frenzy needs to come back. There was also a sequel. Doesn't matter. Bottom of an Avatar shoe. We don't need Fusion Frenzy again. Don't even try. Speaking of Xbox One or original Xbox weird games, we're gonna have a few of these out. Actually, two of these back to back. Tao Feng. Fist of something. I forget what the subtitle is. Tao Feng. I think it was no. No, was it a fighting game? Yes, it was a fighting game. This was something I guess they did with Ed Boon. Like, this was they took a bunch of Mortal Kombat people and made a new Xbox exclusive fighting game. I know nothing about Tao Feng. I don't know if it's worth bringing back, though. When we have Mortal Kombat and it's as good as it is. That goes into the yeesh. Another yeesh, I think. Kakuto Chojin. The only thing I remember about Kakuto Chojin, it was on the original Xbox as well, is that the screenshots at the time in the gaming magazines that I would look at looked amazing. Like, the character models were so detailed and so shiny in that kind of like Xbox era stuff. Like when, the Doom 3 kind of look. If you're old like me, you know what I'm talking about. That everything kind of like a chromey shine to it. That game represents that era to me, just in my head. I don't know if it's any good, so I'm just going to put it in niche. I don't think we need it. But I remember that being one of those games where I'm just like, yeah, that's next generation graphics, baby. All right, I brought it up earlier. Time to go back to the Xbox original platforming world. Voodoo Vince. Voodoo Vince has its fans, but I guess when they put out that remake, I feel like nobody cared. So I think that's another yeesh. Obviously, Forza. Come on, Forza. Now I'm including Forza and the Forza Horizon series in this. Racing, man. I feel like they can't get this one wrong. I mean, yes, Gran Turismo is on PlayStation. People do, have their preference between Gran Turismo or Forza, generally speaking. But with Horizons and just the variety of different things that Forza does that maybe Gran Turismo does slightly differently, that's pure gamer hours. That's pure gamer hours. It belongs up there. Put it out the Forza games on everything. Why not? You just put that one out. Put it on PlayStation. Next up, another one of those deals that they made with Japanese studio, this time for the Xbox One. 99 Nights, or N3. I remember this being compared to a Dynasty Warriors style kind of game, and I remember it being kind of underwhelming and largely forgotten. Yeesh. Oh boy, okay. Jade Empire. If you are a BioWare person and you like the Knights of the Old Republic games, if you like Mass Effect, you probably also have a weird thing about Jade Empire, which was an Xbox exclusive that was a similar kind of RPG. But from what I understand, the settings and the voices and a lot of the subject matter of this game does not hold up anymore. So the chances of Obsidian re-releasing Jade Empire seem extremely low. That's a yeesh, brother. Ooh, our yeesh category is getting tall. What a legacy, Microsoft Game Studios. What a legacy. Moving on. Xbox One launch game Rise: Shadow of Rome. Similar to Kakuto Chojin, actually. This is a game I only remember for people being like, man, it looks pretty. I think gameplay-wise it was pretty linear and kind of boring. But man, if you wanted to show off Xbox One, like if you wanted a reason to upgrade from the 360, you could just look at video of Rise. I remember it looking very impressive. But does anybody care about Rise? I think that's a solid maybe. I don't know. I don't know if anybody would care if they brought that back. All right, next up. Whoa, okay. Mech heads. Time to rise up. Mech Assault. From what I understand, this is related to the Mech Warrior games on PC. This is a BattleTech universe game. Let's go. Bring back Mech Assault. It's time. You saw how people reacted to Armored Core 6 last year. It's time. Mechs are big. Pure gamer hours right here. Mech Assault. Bring it back. Big explosion of mech games. All right, next up. This one actually might happen, and sooner than you think. Sea of Thieves. There's already been rumors about it coming to coming to PlayStation and Switch. It's what Rare's been working on the most. It is an easy game to imagine because it is a kind of hop in, hop out kind of multiplayer based experience. It's kind of getting imitated right now by Skull and Bones from Ubisoft, which I believe is early access right now, but it's coming out later this year. Never been better a time. That being said, I don't know if it's like a legendary classic. I think it has its fans. I'm going to put it in an alright time. Ooh, Pentiment. I have not played Pentiment yet. I know. Feel free to yell at me. This is another Obsidian game. This is their second. That's right. So there are more than one. It's right here on the list. It's staring me right at the face. But yeah, Pentiment seemed like everybody who played it loved it. I don't know if it's like legendary stat. You know what? Hell yeah, it is. I'm just gonna put it up here because Pentiment is a game that seems like it needs other people, like more people to play it. Absolutely, put it up there. Okay, what the hell is Whacked? From what I briefly read on the Wikipedia, this was an Xbox original era multiplayer party game, not too dissimilar from a Fusion Frenzy or a Mario Party, but it just looks gross. It looks early 2000s as hell and derogatory. We don't need this. No one needs this. Bottom of Avatar shoe. Oh, fan favorite. Viva Pinata. There has never been a better time. And I mean this. I think a lot of the stuff, the simulation stuff that Viva Pinata was doing, was ahead of its time. I think a game in the Viva Pinata franchise right now would be an amazing hit. That's the purest of gaming hours. Just do it. Just do it. Rare. I know you're working on Sea of Thieves, but Viva Pinata is right there. Just do it. People love it. Yes, I am aware that there was a TV show, and I'm aware that there was a DS game, but since there hasn't been any other releases, it's safe to put here. Sudeki. Sorry, Sudeki. I know nothing about you, but you seem bad. Oh, Too Human. This game almost has to be down in these latter two categories because they literally cannot make this anymore. This is a game that had to be pulled off of shelves because of litigation. You know, we don't need to go into Dennis Dyack and all the shit that happened around the release of Too Human. All we need to say is Too Human was never good. It wasn't even a good game, so it caused a lot of controversy largely for nothing. I understand that it's probably not bottom of the Avatar shoe bad, so I'm going to put it in solid yeesh. But Too Human, I mean, we will never see it again. It is banished to video game purgatory. Ooh, Sunset Overdrive. This is another unique situation. Even though it was an Xbox One launch game and associated with the Xbox platform, Insomniac, who developed it, obviously now are a Sony team. They're, pretty much locked to PlayStation, making Spider-Man games for the rest of their lives. Sunset Overdrive is I think is an easy one to imagine them porting. I would love Sunset Overdrive on Switch. What a perfect fit. The purest of gaming hours. Let's go, Sunset Overdrive. Bring back that vibe, bring back that look, the colors, the gameplay. It was just such a pure fun game. I love it. Something people love that I don't understand. State of Decay. There's been like 3 of these. Zombies. I don't know. This seems to be like one of those zombie games that kind of just bubble under the surface and people just continue playing and seem to have a good time with. I'm going to put it in an alright time because people seem to think that it's pretty good. I'll trust them on this. Oh, next up. Let's go, Midtown Madness. If you had a PC demo disc in the late 90s, you definitely played a Midtown Madness game. I know I did, and that was fun. I think it was my first experience as a kid with an open world game. Yeah, it was a driving game, but it was open world. You could go anywhere. You could drive through windowed buildings. You could drive past art installations. There were no pedestrians, so you couldn't run anybody over. You could slowly crash your car and make it slowly crumple up over time. And it was just fun. It was just fun to drive around, get on the freeway, get off the freeway. hit the end of the world because the demo was limited. I didn't actually own the actual game, just the demo. From what I understand, only the third Midtown Madness came out on the console on the original Xbox, but it's time. Revive the franchise. It's never been a better time. This is pure gamer hours for sure. Sneakers. I almost deleted this, but I included it because I think it's funny. This apparently is an original Xbox game that was developed by a Japanese studio, and you're a mouse. Another one where I remember seeing screenshots of this in gaming magazines and seeing write-ups and be like, I don't know, you're a mouse, and I guess it's a platformer? I'm not even really sure. The world does not need sneakers. But I don't think it's bad. Maybe it does suck. I don't know if it actually sucks, but I'll just put it in yeesh. It doesn't need to be bottom of an Avatar shoe. That mouse is too cute. I don't want to get mad at that mouse. All right, last three. Home stretch, people. Project Gotham Racing. Yes, this one's kind of obvious. Forza exists. Largely, you don't need PGR. It's a lot of the same people ended up making the Forza games. But man, it was a different era. Of course, even older heads know that this has its origins on the Dreamcast. What was that game called? Oh, I wish I could remember. But kind of continued it got a spiritual sequel in Project Gotham. I don't know if it's different enough from Forza. It is more arcadey. I think it's a maybe. I think you could see a world where they bring back the PGR name if they can. I don't know if they can. But we don't really need it. All right, next up. Oh, Phantom Dust. So in 2017, they actually did bring back Phantom Dust and rebooted it, and nobody cared. I guess it's a card game based, and deck related card games have never been bigger. I mean, just this week we have that poker game on Steam, a poker roguelike that is doing crazy downloads apparently, and people seem to really love. But I don't know. I think that they proved that nobody cares about Phantom Dust. So sorry, Phantom Dust, you're in the yeesh category. And then lastly, Don't Nods, Tell Me Why. This is another weird one. This game, I could have sworn came out on multiple platforms, but no, it was published by Microsoft. This was a console and PC exclusive. This is another easy one that they can put out. I remember it kind of just being kind of middling. I'd say that's a maybe. And with that, we have a tier list, folks. In just about 47 minutes, we were able to finish that. Let's go down the categories here. So, in pure gamer hours, these are the legendary Xbox Game Studios franchises that I believe easily could be ported to other platforms. Get them out, revitalize them, enjoy them. They are the reason why that Xbox lasted as long as it did. Or did. I'm talking in past tense. They're not going anywhere. That they established the brand to be what it is now. And so up here I have Bloodwake, because why not bring back combat on the seas in a boat with a gun. Hexic, because puzzle games are great. Flight Simulator, because it's an easy... They're already putting out a new one, and it makes sense to put out on everything. Gears of War, for, being one of the most storied Xbox franchises. Halo, for being the most legendary and storied Xbox franchise. Forza Motorsport, putting them on the racing map. MechAssault, because mechs are huge, and that seems like a good one to revitalize. Pentiment, because from what I understand, it is like top-tier narrative adventure game. Viva Pinata, because family-friendly sim games are huge. Just look at Palworld, although that's kind of butting up against the definition of family-friendly. Sunset Overdrive, Insomniac, Microsoft, make a deal, bring it back. And Midtown Madness, because driving around an open world city is still fun. Then in an alright time, games that are just like, yeah, I could see it. Amped, snowboarding. Do it. Bring back Amp 3. Why not? Crimson Skies. Fight combat. Always fun. Let's do it. Fable. We're doing another one. It has its fans. It could be great again. I believe it. Lost Odyssey. Why not do a remake of this? Sakaguchi, get on board. Let's do it. Let's just bring it back. RPG goodness has never been more, appreciated. Cameo. Elements of Power. Rare. You know how much people love this game. Bring it back. Redo it. Reboot it. Grounded. Another easy slam dunk for Obsidian. People really like this game. Survival games are hot. Put it out on everything. Lips, karaoke games. We need them. Sea of Thieves. Probably going to happen. Watch this space. And State of Decay. Alright, and I'll go quickly through the rest of these because I'm spending way too much time repeating myself, really. The maybe category, I don't know, maybe. Blue Dragon, Blinks the Time Sweeper, Crackdown, Ninja Blade, Recore, Quantum Break, Rise, Project Gotham Racing, and Tell Me Why. Do we need them? Maybe. Maybe not. The Yeesh category, As Dusk Falls. Oof. Dead Dreams Don't Die, D4. Grabbed by the Ghoulies. Tao Fang. Ugh. Kakuto Chojin. Oh, the Voodoo Vince, we tried that. 99 Nights. Jade Empire. Problematic. Too Human. In-Game Jail. Sneakers. Cute Mouse. Phantom Dust. Cards. And then bottom of the Avatar shoe, please keep these away from me. Brute Force. Kung Fu Chaos. All the Kinect games. Fusion Frenzy, Whacked! And Sudeki. And that's it. That's tier list. Thanks for joining me, folks. This will wrap it up for us. For me, I have been Matt. This has been the Media Boat Podcast. If you want to know more about the Media Boat Podcast, I'm going to put some links to our other videos. I don't know where they're going to show up. Do that later. But yeah, check out our podcast, check out our specials to come, check out twitch.tv/MediaBoat for games that we're playing. If you're watching this the day it goes up, Mike is playing Foam Stars this weekend on twitch.tv/MediaBoat. So go see him foam himself. Have a foam party with Mike this weekend. Why not? And catch our podcast wherever podcasts are found. Media Boat Podcast. All right. It's been real. See you guys. Bye.